to another episode of CEBL Weekly here on CEBL Plus and the CEBL's YouTube channel. I'm your host, Sean Woodley. Thank you so much for being here once again for your once-a-week trip around the Canadian Elite Basketball League. We've got another loaded show for you here today as we'll speak with Niagara River Lions assistant Danielle Boyego, who was called into emergency head coaching duty on Monday for Niagara's game with the Edmonton Stingers. Plus, we've got week 2 of the power rankings with a brand new team sliding into the top spot to take over last week's number 1, the Fraser Valley Bandits. Plus, we've got my game of the week and a run through the upcoming slate of games across the league and a look at some of the best CEBL ending finishes so far this young season. And let me tell you, there have been a whole lot of them to choose from. Before all that, though, a quick word on the parity we're seeing in the league so far this year. 4 or 5 games into most teams' schedules, I still have no idea who the best team in the CEBL is. I have my inklings, as we'll get to in the power rankings this week, but each of the 10 teams across the league has some kind of claim to elite status among the rest. Teams like Ottawa, Scarborough, Guelph, and Newfoundland have had a hard time picking up wins in the early going, but you could argue that the 4 most talented players in the league are dotted across those 4 rosters. Montreal and Saskatchewan are testing out brand new mixes of players, both known and new to the CEBL, with some pretty good early results to show for it, and Niagara, Hamilton, Edmonton, and Fraser Valley, arguably the 4 most successful franchises through the CEBL's first 3 seasons, are back at it again, winning games with a blend of new arrivals, familiar faces, and organizational continuity from top down. With 3 quarters of the season to go, you could talk me into any of the 10 teams in the league being there on championship weekend in August. And while it certainly has been fun to watch Xavier Moon and the Stingers' dominance over the last 2 seasons, it's undeniable that having a wide open title picture in a year where all sorts of new eyeballs are on the league is where you want to be. It's time now for my favorite segment. It's the Power Rankings, week number 2 edition, and I gotta say, I got no guff in my mentions or my DMs from anybody last week over my rankings, which made me feel a little bit lonely and upset and disappointed. If you're angry with the rankings, feel free. Come at me. I can handle it. It's all right. Let's dig in now to week number 2 of the Power Rankings. We start off at the bottom with the winless Newfoundland Growlers, who were in this spot last week because they hadn't yet played a game. They've played a game now. They've played 3 actually and have yet to win any. However, Brandon Sampson, who just set the CEBL record with 42 points on 18 shots in just 28 minutes over the weekend against Ottawa, certainly has the juice to pull the Growlers out of the basement in weeks to come. Second from the bottom, we have the Guelph Nighthawks, who have yet to win a game since their thrilling opening night victory over the Scarborough Shooting Stars. And look, I had the Guelph Nighthawks as my preseason favorite to win it all based on the strength of the trio of Kat Barber, Ahmed Hill, and AJ Lawson. But through 4 games, they have a minus 40 point differential, which is not what top-level teams in the power rankings are made of. Charles Kissey's crew has a bit of work to do to climb back up the ladder. In the 8th spot, we have the Scarborough Shooting Stars, who have picked up 2 wins from their last 3 games, and we finally got to see the full Jalen Harris experience on display in Scarborough's win over Newfoundland on Tuesday night as he dropped 38 points on 26 shots. I also have to say, it is unbelievably cool that Rod Black, the legend himself, is calling these Shooting Stars games, and I have to say I agree with Rod big time. On Tuesday night, with the game very much in hand in the CEBL ending, the Shooting Stars brought in J. Cole and didn't run every single play for him to get the winner. Had they done that, they might have been a little bit higher than 8th this week. In the 7th spot, we have the Saskatchewan Rattlers on a slow climb up from 8th last week, and I gotta say, it's really nice to see the Rattlers playing some ho-hum, regular 500 basketball. It's been hard times in Saskatoon for the last 2 seasons, as the Rattlers have gone just 2-20 over the course of the 2020 and 2021 seasons. They have as many wins now in 4 games under Dean Demopoulos as they've had over the course of the last 2 years. Really great stuff to see out there in the prairies. In the 6th spot, we have last week's number 1, the Fraser Valley Bandits, who have taken a bit of a tumble over the last 7 days, losing 2 of their last 3 games after finally returning home after beginning the year with 3 straight on the road. Look, Alex Campbell's still fantastic. Kadre Gray's still looking to find his spot within the hierarchy on offense out in Fraser Valley. The Bandits have the talent to turn this around, but they have to be in number 6 based on recent events. In the 5th spot, we have the Ottawa Blackjacks, who I simply refuse to quit. Yes, they lost their first 3 games of the season. Yes, they've already fired their coach, Charles Dubé-Bray, replacing him with James Durouin. And yes, there's other teams out there with more wins than just the one the Blackjacks have on their ledger, but those other teams don't have Danielle, baby, who I think, for my money, is the best player in the CEBL through the first quarter of the schedule. He's averaging 23.5 points, 6.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists. He's shooting 64% from the field, and he's shooting 74% from downtown on nearly 5 attempts a game. Danielle is ridiculous, and if he keeps playing like this, he's going to drag the Blackjacks to some W's, I guarantee it. In the 4th spot, we have the Montreal Alliance, the expansion squad, who's looking pretty good right now. They've got a great foundation around import Dominic Green and hometown hero Kemiose. Isaiah Osborne's really finding his role as a pro as well, and they have a pretty balanced attack all told. You factor in the beckoning sound of Verdun Auditorium with those low ceilings, and they have one of the best home court advantages in the CEBL. They're a very deserving top 4 team this week, sitting at 3-2. In the bronze medal position, we have the Edmonton Stingers, who are looking a lot different from the team that won the last 2 titles in the CEBL, but damn good nonetheless. No, there's no more Xavier Moon working as the center of the universe with everybody in his orbit. Instead, this team is all about balance. They have 5 different players currently averaging between 9.5 and 14 points a game, and all 9 of Jermaine Small's regular rotation players are averaging at least 6.5 a game. It's a different formula, but the wins are coming in Edmonton nonetheless. In the 2nd spot, we have the Hamilton Honey Badgers, who at the time of recording sit atop the league at 4-1 and picked up a huge win in Fraser Valley on Tuesday during the school day game out in Langley with a very loud and high-pitched crowd cheering on the Bandits. Christian Vital has been a fantastic import for this Hamilton team. Jeremiah Tillman has been awesome in the middle, and they still have Aaron Best and Mikhail McIntosh on the way at some point soon here. Ryan Schmidt's squad is looking real good. And in the top spot, we have the Niagara River Lions. And you're sitting there surely saying, Sean, they're 3-2. They're just barely over 500. Why are they in the number 1 spot? They just lost to Edmonton on Monday night in a close Elam Ending finish. Well, guess what? I don't really care about the record so much as the process and the results we've seen from this team on the floor. Khalil Ahmad is maybe the best ball handler in the CEBL right now, and he's averaging 23.5 points a game. He's been dynamic for Vic Razzo's side. EJ Onu is blocking everything within a 10-foot radius of himself, and Phil Scrubb is back and playing as well as we expect Phil Scrubb to play. This team has only lost by a total of 5 points over the course of their 2 losses and have double-digit wins in their 3 wins on the ledger so far. This team is very much a problem, and that's why the River Lions take up top spot in Week 2 of the CEBL Power Rankings. Earlier this week, Danielle Boyego, the day 1 assistant with the Niagara River Lions, was thrust into emergency head coach duty when Vic Razzo fell ill just before the River Lions game with the Edmonton Stingers on Monday night. Niagara lost the game by 2 in a very dramatic affair, but as Danielle told me in the sit-down you're about to see, she learned a ton on the job in just a short time. Here's my chat with Danielle Boyego about what she's learned, both with the River Lions and as an assistant coach under the legend Teresa Burns with the McMaster Women's Program, what the connection between the CEBL and U Sports means to her, and so much more. It's Danielle Boyego in our weekly sit-down. All right, joining me now on CEBL Weekly is Niagara River Lions assistant coach and emergency head coach on Sunday as the River Lions took on the Edmonton Stingers. Danielle Boyego. Danielle, how's it going?
Hey, Sean, I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks so much for being here. I guess the first question I have for you is, what's the day like leading up to that game where you're into coach? Like, did you know going into the day you'd be coaching? Was it a thing where Vic, falls ill and all of a sudden you're like thrust into action? You got the game plan to put together. What's the sort of lead up to the game when you know you're going to be coaching?
Yeah, I didn't know I was going to be coaching until about 3 o'clock that day. So I got the call from Vic and, your mind instantly starts going, but we already had the game plan set. We already had our scout done. So it was just getting to the gym and trying to execute what we had kind of already planned. But yeah, a little bit of whirlwind of a day on Monday for sure.
I guess it helps that you're up against an Edmonton team that you have seen a lot of in Niagara, especially back in the championship game last season. Tough loss in that one. You fall by 2. That Edmonton team, I'm curious sort of your view on them, because I think with Niagara, what you guys have done in recent years is you've been so focused on continuity and having a system and a structure, and Edmonton's kind of been the closest thing to that in the CEBL that you've been able to achieve. Do you kind of see sort of kindred spirits between Jermaine Small's staff and your own?
Yeah, we do try and keep things, like you said, that continuity between our staff, but also our players and what we're trying to do every single year. And obviously what we're trying to do every single year is win. Mm-hmm. And that's what Edmonton's trying to do too. So I do think that they have a core group that's kind of stayed together the past couple of years, and so have we. So there are some similarities, but it's always a big game when we play Edmonton, that's for sure.
For sure. And I guess I want to talk to you about your, the news of you coaching the game on Sunday, getting your first shot at a head coaching gig. I'm curious, sort of, this is obviously something that you're working towards. All coaches are kind of on the track towards trying to be a head coach. It's one game, so there's only so much you can sort of pull from it. But was there anything in there that kind of hardened your resolve as you look to be a full-time head coach somewhere someday?
Oh my gosh, there was so much learning involved from that one game. Mm-hmm. I had a lot of fun. It was awesome. We have a great group of guys. They're super resilient. We've faced adversity before. We've gone through, all of us have gone through 2 years of a pandemic, so things change in an instant. And I thought the guys reacted really well to me. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so many things watching back the film this morning, so many things I wish I did better, different, but that's learning. And I'm just happy that our guys and Vic and our staff had the trust in me to take on that role. Obviously we didn't get the win, but lots of learning involved for all of us. And I think we'll be better throughout the season because of last night.
So what's the biggest difference, for me, a lay person who has no idea really what's going on a bench ever? I'm just like, oh yeah, coaches, they're doing stuff. They'll take care of it. But for you, like, what's the biggest difference going from assistant to head coach? Obviously, there's a priority on sort of play calling and things like that. You're making the lineup choices and whatnot. But what's the sort of biggest difference in making that, it seems like it's only a couple steps, but it's obviously a pretty big change in role.
Yeah, it is a big change in role. I think the biggest thing is just game management. Sure. Like you said, lineups, making sure that we have the right guys on the floor when it matters most, and play calling and things like that, and just keeping the guys organized and on the same page. That's something that I wish I did a little bit better last night. But there's so many things that goes into head coaching that as an assistant coach, you don't really know until you're thrust into that role. So like I've already mentioned, lots of great learning for me, and I'm looking forward to that next step in my career eventually.
And I mean, it's got to be cool for you as a U Sports alum to see the success U Sports people are having across the CEBL, right? From coaches to players. What does it mean for you to have that connection, U Sports and the CEBL, kind of on the same page?
Yeah, I love it. It's so great for our game in this country, for kids growing up to know that they don't have to go to the States to be successful. They can stay in U Sports, have a great career. Some of the best players in our league right now are U Sports players. If you look at, Phil Scrubb, Caleb Agata, all of those guys that are in really, really good leagues overseas, and then they come back home and they spend their summers in the CEBL with us because they recognize the benefit of it. So great role models for the young up and coming generation, and it's just so great for U Sports. I'm so happy to be a part of it.
We are not worthy of Dr. Nick Elam, the man who has blessed the CEBL with his concoction, the Elam Ending. As a play-by-play broadcaster, I can't tell you how fun it is to call games knowing they're all going to end on a bucket, which is the whole point of the Elam Ending, to keep basketball as basketball in the closing stages of a game. If you've watched any CEBL games so far this year, odds are you've seen a pretty compelling finish in one of the Elam Endings over the first couple of weeks. Here's a look at the 5 best that we've seen so far in our countdown of the best Elam Ending finishes of 2022.
10 seconds on the shot clock. Good defense. Osei, the pump fake, will try from deep 3, and it's good. This game is over. There's a party in downtown Montreal. The Alliance, with their first win in franchise history.
Former Honey Badger Thomas Kennedy.
Can he bury his own team here? We will see. He is good on the first. We're all leaving at 70. For the win. It's good. Tom Kennedy knocks it down, and the Fraser Valley Bandits move to 2-1 with a 2-0, that is, with a 71-70 victory here against the host Hamilton Honey Badgers.
Pulls up his dribble, 5 on the shot clock. Good defense. Long contested shot, and it's good. Oh, the winner from Alex Campbell. A contested 3 And the Fraser Valley Bandits have won this opening night tilt in Ottawa, 90-87 on a heroic buzzer beater from Alex Campbell.
On the inbound, finds Ding Adele. Adele guarded up top quickly. Shaq Heath matching up with Adele. Jamel Kennedy's got a big job. Adele pulls away the jumper and gets it to fall, and Ding Adele breaks the hearts of the Newfoundland faithful.
That far side where Jones is back up top. Peter McNeely drives into the paint, kicks to the corner. Ugwak for the win, got it! And the Stingers on a silencer get the win in Niagara, and this one is over.
Here at CEBL Weekly, of course, we'd love if you would watch every game in the CEBL. They're free on CBC Gem, CEBL Mobile, and CEBL Plus, by the way. But we know you're busy and you gotta prioritize, baby, and so that's why we have Sean's Game of the Week. The one game where you gotta drop everything and be sure you tune in. And this week, that game goes down on Sunday, June the 12th in Edmonton as the Stingers play host to the expansion Scarborough Shooting Stars. In this matchup, you have two teams built in completely opposite ways. You have the Stingers, built on continuity, the returning players who they've had all throughout their run, and of course, Jordan Baker at the center of it all. The balance, the precision, the knowledge of the system is all there. With the Shooting Stars, you have a team that's just a few games into its existence, built very much around Jalen Harris, the former and probably future NBA player, around which their whole world orbits. This should be an absolute banger of a game as Scarborough looks to pick up another victory on the road and Edmonton looks to keep pace with the teams atop the standings in the CEBL. That's Sunday, June 12th at 4 p.m. Mountain Time. Be sure to tune in. The week slate gets started on Thursday night as a pair of 1 and 3 teams do battle at the Sleeman Center. It's the Nighthawks hosting the Blackjacks, both teams desperate for another W in that column. That one goes down at 7 p.m. And if you're looking for more reasons to tune in, I'll be on the call. You'll get to hear my voice even more than you already do. On Friday, it's a double screen night as the Niagara River Lions take on the Newfoundland Growlers looking for their first win at Meridian Center, and that one goes down at 7 p.m. Then at 7:30, the Hamilton Honey Badgers are hosting the Saskatchewan Rattlers. The Honey Badgers looking to become the first 5-win team in the CEBL. Fire one on the screencast, fire one on your laptop, and you'll be able to watch both and be a very happy camper on a Friday night. On Saturday, just one game to sink your teeth into as the Guelph Nighthawks continue their homestand, taking on the Montreal Alliance, who will be in town. Then on Sunday, we got 3 games to whet your appetite as the Newfoundland Growlers host the Hamilton Honey Badgers at 4 p.m. Newfoundland time, 2:30 Eastern. Then, later in the afternoon, 4 p.m. Eastern, the River Lions take on the Saskatchewan Rattlers as they continue their tour of Ontario. To close the night, we have the big one, the Stingers and the Shooting Stars in my Game of the Week. Then to close out the week, the Guelph Nighthawks host the Growlers, who hope to have had a win on their ledger by then. If not, they'll be a very desperate team on the road as the Nighthawks close out their homestand. And that does it once again for CEBL Weekly for another week. Thank you so much for tuning in. In case you missed it, CEBL Mobile, the official app of the CEBL, is now available for all iOS and Android devices. You can download now, follow your favorite teams and players, and watch your games. Also, don't forget to follow us at CEB League on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook for all the latest news, updates, and honestly, some pretty fire content as well. CEBL Championship Weekend is also headed to our nation's capital August 10th to 14th, and tournament packs are available now. Get your tickets at cebl.ca, which is the place you can find all of your Canadian Elite Basketball League related information. Thanks so much for Director Jamie Tan. I'm Sean Woodley. We'll be back again next week with another episode of CEBL Weekly. Thanks for watching.